Hello, Paula Holland here, Grey Elk. Just said I'd put a little video together on land and house healing, just to let you know all the elements and all the different scenarios that we face when we do land and house. So, if you're having problems, and maybe we'll be able to highlight some here for you or give you an awareness of what can be happening in your place. So when we go to your place, there's many elements that we look. I think there's 16 or 18 different aspects that we look for on the land of your place. And our whole idea and our whole goal is to try to leave the land back in its original state. And the original state it was in before we interfered with it. Because the only person that has interfered with the land, with the environment, with the energy of the place, is the human being. So when we go to a place, the first thing we check for is what we call the chi level of your house. The chi level of the house is the energy, the life force energy that flows through your place. And this will tell us whether you have lodgers or not, in other words, ghosts. Because ghosts need chi energy, they absorb the chi energy to hold them within the space that they're in. And it's a good indicator to us about how many ghosts or energies that are not of this plane that are in that place. The other thing we measure is in megahertz, the frequency of the land and the place that you're living in. Usually we always aim to get it in around 600 megahertz, 0 being dead and 1,000 being enlightenment. So the scale is worked on the Dr. David Hawkins scale, and we work off that. Usually we go into places sometimes, depending on the energy of the place, they can be pretty low. If there's demonic energy in a place or very heavy curses in the place, you usually bring it in around 200, maybe 250. So then we know we have a bit of work to do. So that when we rise that frequency, it brings up the energy, but that frequency can't be risen till the energies or whatever is causing the problem in the place has to be released. So when we finish our work, we always check on the chi level to see that it's higher. Basically should be coming in at 96 to 98%. Never get it 100%. So then we know there's nothing in the house. A normal reading with a couple of ghosts in the house would be between 60, 70, and sometimes 75%. So we know that there's energy there. Now, when we have that done, we look at the geopathic stress. Geopathic stress or ley lines or energies or waters or rivers that run underground. And basically what they do, they give off a magnetic frequency. When they give off this frequency, if the frequency around our bodies is 7.83 megahertz, the frequency of the river should be 7.3 megahertz. But if that frequency of the river is distorted in a positive polarity or a negative polarity, what actually happens is it distorts the frequency around our body. And in time, it weakens our immune system. So what happens when we go to bed at night? Sometimes we're sleeping on this line. This energy is coming up through the ground. We call it the white light. And our body detects it. And our immune system starts to fight it off. So sometimes you get up in the morning with pains and aches. You go to bed, you're tired. And when you get up in the morning, all these kind of little scenarios can happen to you. And what's actually happening there is your immune system is trying to fight this energy off, this imbalanced energy. So over a period of time, depending on the strength of the line that you're on, we usually measure the lines from the Dr. Van Paul scale, 0 to 16. Anything over 9 is cancerous. And if we get two lines crossing, we call them a vortex. If one line is, say, 16 and the other line is 15, you're sleeping in a vortex of 31. So that really enhances the energy, and the energy in that vortex spirals. So what happens over 15, 20 years of fighting this, you get run down, your immune system gets wore out. It can lead to cancer or many other different things. Now, the Hartmann line is another line. Dr. Hartmann, German doctor, also, who was the cancer doctor, discovered the Hartmann line. People were coming to him with cancer. And he started to go out and divine the house. He was a diviner. Reading some of the books back in the 1920s or whatever about divining, in Germany that time, an awful lot of doctors who were diviners, believe it or not, because I've read reports and a fair few of them in relation to geopathic stress and stuff. So the Hartmann line, he found the line was wider than the normal lines. Hence, we call it the Hartmann line. So we check for them. We check where they're going into the house. We see where they are. And usually where there's the problem, They're always going in there. They're always going through it because it affects your immune system, it affects your health, it affects your well-being, your attitude, everything. The other thing we look for as well are spirit lines. Our spirit lines are lines on which the spirits walk. These lines, for example, we're down in Cork one day, down outside Carrigaline, and I was talking to a lady and explaining to her about the spirit lines, and I was saying to her, there's a spirit line running from here to there. She checked it out, and going back in history, yes, there was where people used to walk for food. So during the famine, people walked these lines or these paths to get food. Some people died on the path, and when they died on the path, their souls still kept walking the path. Same thing where there's been battles, been in a house in Athlone one time, and all the banging and the knives was going on in the house, keeping the poor lady awake, and she didn't know what was going on. But what it was the people of Akram coming home from the battle. Even though they were dead, their souls were still walking along that path home, but they kept reenacting that. So what has to be done in them situations is these energies have to be released, the spirits released, the spirits freed, and the lines taken away from the house. Now, sometimes when you get what we call a vortex of spirit lines going through a house, where two lines actually cross, you can get activity in the house. I've noted that over the years. So just to know that can be healed and that can be cleared as well. The other thing we look for are fairy lines. And with the fairy lines, how I came across these was one time down in Listunvarna, I think it was, we were doing a house. But what was happening in the house was all the machinery was breaking down, washing machines, dishwashers, televisions, everything was going not as it should have been going, let's say. But whatever way I looked, I could see a fairy ford across from it. And then there was another fairy ford opposite it, maybe a couple of miles in another direction. And I doubted for a fairy line. And what it was a fairy path. And the house was going through it. Now, in olden times, people used to put up 4 sticks in the field. And if one of the sticks fell or 2 of them fell, they knew that was a fairy path, that they couldn't build on it. Or they watched where the cattle lay, the cows lay in the field. And if the cows lay in a certain place, they knew it was safe to build there, because the cows won't lie in negative energy, they lie in positive energy. Cats like negative energy, dogs like positive energy. So anyway, we discovered a fairy line. So then a deal had to be done with the fairies. We had to talk to them, we had to converse with them, we had to do a deal. And to make them understand that the people that were living in this house didn't know anything about fairy lines, fairy pathways. They built their house here and they did it to rear their family. And when we kind of explain like that, the fairies kind of understand. And next thing we're able to do is to divert the line from the house. So there's a happy medium for everyone. Now, yin lines are another type of line that run under the ground. They're kind of like dragon lines. But what they do, they give off a very, very zinny energy. People can't sleep on them. And basically what we have to do with them is to ground them, bring that energy and put it back into the earth. Electromagnetic, if you're living near pylons or high-powered wires or transformers, anything like that, that gives off electromagnetic frequency. So that energy can be coming into your house. Now, if you have electromagnetic and geopathic running through your house together, that's a fairly serious situation, because electromagnetic can activate cancer, and so can the geopathic stress. Not trying to frighten you or anything like that, but I'm just letting you know these things because this is important to know. Lots of people live in places like this and they're not aware of it, but that energy can be blocked as well and taken from the place. So basically, we're talking about looking at geopathic stress, spirit lines, looking at fairy lines, looking at yin lines, electromagnetic, any influences from outside that can come into your house, so that we can clear them and to bring it back into an original state. And also, of course, do a deal with the out fairies so that they're happy and you're happy. The other thing then that can happen, of course, are ghosts. People experience ghosts in houses, haunted houses. And lots of times I get called to a place and people are saying, geez, I bought this house, it just all happened, everything happened. I seen it, I loved it, I did this and that. The next thing when they get into it, there's a problem in it. The reason the problem is there in that house, problem has always been there probably, but the reason you are selected for that house, I firmly believe this is, you've been called there because you're going to do something about it. You're sensitive, and that energy is calling you and is looking for help. So anytime there's a presence in a house in some way or other, and it makes itself shown or you're aware of it, you hear footsteps on the stairs or doors banging and stuff like that. In my experience over the 30 years I've been doing this work, I firmly believe that they're calling out for help. And, we're there to help them. You can get souls trapped in places as well. So there can be satanic energy in places where there's been, going back before anything was built on it, there was ritual done on it, and the ritual wasn't done on it for the good of humanity. It was done on it to do something to someone else. I remember one time there was a curse on a place, and the energy came from a ritual that was put on a ley line miles away from the place, so that the negative energy would flow through the ley line and onto the land to bring bad luck to the people on that place. And that's not uncommon. Lots of people in olden times knew what they're doing. They knew about the energies, and they knew how to work it and how to manipulate it if they had to. I remember one time doing a farm down in County Clare, and on the farm, your man's cows were dying. He was losing 3 cows a week. He was a dairy farmer. He had tried everything, vets, grass, whatever else he had to do. He tried everything, and everything came up trumps. But what it was the neighbours next door that put a curse on his place. He was a single man. Hopefully he would sell the place and they would buy it. So, to think that people don't know how to do these things today, you're mistaken, because I come across a lot of stuff, stuff that curses would be hundreds of years old, but there's some that are very, very relevant and very new, let's say, that they're put on place because people, there's jealousy, there's begrudgery, there's this, there's want, whatever it is. So it's still alive today, and I've come across it quite a bit. So sometimes on the house then as well, you get what I call far and Thalaf, you get a man of the land. Might be a grandfather or a father that handed the land over to the son to farm the land, but he handed over reluctantly because he never wanted to let go of it. So his soul and his spirit is still there. And the reason they're still there because they still have ownership of that place. So when the son or whoever it is that takes over the land is trying to improve the thing and to maybe some building on it or bring in new ways, sometimes they find resistance, things start to break down, things start to happen. It's because that person in the place doesn't want change. He wants the farm the way it was. And then there's the Banachie, the woman of the house. Sometimes there's old women there in that house and they've never ever left it. They've been there maybe for, depending on the house, maybe for 100 years, some of them over that. I remember one time doing a place and I'd seen this woman sitting in a chair, an old woman, there for about 100 years or more, her spirit, her soul. And the woman of the house never felt she was wanted in that house. She said it to me afterwards. The reason she wasn't wanted was because the spirit of that woman was there. And that woman didn't want anyone else in the house. As far as she was concerned, she was the woman of the house. So when we cleared the spirit of that house, the woman burst out crying. "What's wrong with you? Are you all right?" Didn't know what was wrong with her. She said, "This is the first time I felt welcome in this house, because when the energy of the woman left, it meant it was her space." So you come across a lot of anomalies like that, and I've many, many, many stories, but I don't want to bore you with them. But just to give you an insight to what can happen in the place. And of course, curses, I just touched on it there a few minutes ago. Now, curses on land in Ireland are absolutely, I think if anyone wants to learn about how to deal with curses on land, the best place to come is to Ireland. Because you go back to the famine time, you go back to the landlord time. When the landlords took over the land, the people, when they were being treated badly, actually put a curse on the place, on that land, on that place. And as you see today, a lot of the landlord places are in ruin. They were cursed. And the curse on the land, even though it could be put back a couple of 100 years ago, that curse still alive today till it's broken, because it never ever breaks. You buy the land, you buy the curse with it. You sell the land, you sell the curse with it. And curses can come on family names as well. They can come on family names, objects, and different things like that. But basically with land, the energy is on the land. And when you buy that land, you buy the curse with it. Person one time, he was fairly prosperous, and everything he put his hand to turned to gold. But he bought this bit of land and things started to fall for him, because he bought the curse with the land. Now, he didn't know he was buying the curse with the land, but the landlord energy going back, there's a lot of that energy around Ireland today and around in a lot of places. And other places where I've seen where there's been battles on the land, and you can see a soldier dying, and as his blood goes into the ground, he starts to curse the land and curse this place. That works. That's powerful. Blood curses are powerful. And that energy stays with the place. So there's never a day's look at it. And of course, then, you have families where someone has left a bit of land and the other person doesn't get it. There's bad will between them. And they can put a curse on it. And the curse can be as simple as, I hope they never have a day's look there, or this kind of thing. But once you say that with passion, with anger, with thing, that sticks. So, there's many anomalies on that, and lots of places ago we experience that energy, and that energy has to be cleared. And also in that energy, the people that put the curse on the place, the people that live there, that whatever, they're stuck there too. They're stuck till they're all released. There has to be an energy of forgiveness. There has to be an energy of release. There has to be a lot of things. And believe you me, the people that curse the places, when we approach them in the spirit world, 9 times out of 10, they're ready to let go. They're ready to release. Now, sometimes you get people that still carry the anger, still carry the stuff. You have to do a bit of work with them. But just know that can be cleared as well. So, we also look at traumas. Like I said to you, a fella dying on the land, or sometimes I remember one time doing a house in Barna, and when I went to the front door of the house, the people were lovely, but I felt really unwelcome. And when I was doing the energy clearing later on, in actual fact, just under the porch and the door, a woman and a baby died during the famine. Her spirit or soul was still there, but there was anger, there was, hatred, there was all the different things. She was there holding her child, and there was nothing she could do for it. So that energy, that would be an imprint of energy. That would be an imprint of a thought. That would be an imprint that was still alive, because energy stays alive. You go into a room and you think of something. You walk out of the room and you forget, but you walk back into the room and you remember it again. The reason you remember it, because you left the thought form behind you. Lots of times over beds, when we're clearing in bedrooms, when there's fear-based stuff with people, like, maybe a child or something, all that fear is left over the bed. So that all has to be transmuted, all has to be cleared, and positive energy put into the place, so that when that little child or the person, whoever it is, goes to bed at night, they pick up on the positive energy, the positive thought forms, and not the negative, as an imprints and memory. So these are just a few of the things that we look at on land. And as I said to you at the start, we try to bring the land back to its original state before we messed it up. And believe you me, not saying that you personally messed it up, but through time and through disrespect to the elementals, to the land and to everything, the energy has been messed up. It has been distorted. So all we're trying to do is to rebalance everything, so there is a flow that comes through your place and everyone is healthy. So if you want to contact us, please do. You can get us on info@pathwayteaching.com. And love to hear from you. And thank you so much. Do have a wonderful day. God bless you.